Good morning, everybody. My viewers, I want to first all begin this segment by thanking all of you guys who are subscribed to my channel. My name is Kayoki Pikukanwe, and you are watching the Delmarva Point of View on YouTube. Delmarva Point of View, as you know, is a community-based YouTube channel. We come to you every Thursday with Community Thursday and Friday with Politics Friday. And we're going to have a new segment what we be calling when the dust settle. We are thinking about changing our YouTube channel name to when the dust settles. So if you see the dust settle, the Delmarva Point of View, or you see levdmedia.com, that's the same channel. I want to thank you very much. And today we're going to be talking about very important development that happened at the G8 summit in India. This morning, the Prime Minister of India, Modi, Narendra Modi, announced the African Union, has been admitted as one of the permanent members of the G20 at the summit in Delhi. That's a very important development, and we're going to dissect what this means, not just for Africa, but what it means for the rest of the world. To understand the significance of this development, we need to go back a little bit in time. The African Union, or the AU, was established in 2001 as it was successor of the Organization of African Unity. What's the mission of the African Union? The mission of the African Union is to promote unity and cooperation among African countries, tackle common challenges, and foster sustainable development across the continent. It is a platform for African nations to have a collective voice on the global stage. So the African Union, I don't know whether its members are respecting that. I'm sure they are. But the African Union is supposed to serve as a voice of all the 54, 55 African members, African countries. And the African Union has been doing that to some extent. To bring 54 countries together is not easy. Even one country to agree on a single issue is not easy. And so the African Union succeeded the Organization of African Unity in 2001, and now it has been admitted as one of the permanent members of the G20 in India, today in India. So, what is this? Why is this a big news? Indian Prime Minister Modi made a history by announcing that the African Union will now be a permanent member of the G8. This means African nations will have a seat at the table in shaping global policy and decision, not just as a guest, but a full-fledged member. It is a testimony of the growing influence of African economies and the recognition of their role in global affairs. So I think what people ask, but what is this important? I think Africa population is now 1.5 billion people, and this number is a huge economy. They say numbers strength. So the continent of Africa, almost 1.5 billion people live on the African continent, and I think the G20 members recognize that this is an economy that is fast growing economy, and they want to tap into that economy. And so African Union becoming a part of the G20 organization is a great news for not just the people of Africa, but the rest of the world. What this means for Africa, we are just explaining what it means for Africa. One of the what this now let's part of what this development means for the people of Africa. First and foremost, it's an opportunity for African nations to directly influence global policy that impact them. They can advocate for their unique challenges and opportunities, be it infrastructure development, healthcare, and trade agreement. So these are the things that African countries will be involved in. Instead of people making decisions for African countries will now be involved in making decisions. We sit on the table with these big boys, if you will, the rich countries, and decide what are some of the things that Africa needs. Maybe debt cancellation, infrastructure development, and peace, and security, wars on the continent, coup d'etat. How do Africa respond to that? African Union is not a government. So most of the things it does it through consensus. So by it being admitted as a permanent member of the G20, maybe it will help African countries to now start to think about ways, to make African countries to understand that they all have to, harmonize their border policy, the immigration policies, and their law, the international, the foreign, policies. Because I don't think people want to be talking to an organization in which you have 54 countries with 54 different or 54, 55 different policies, maybe by all of them working through the African Union to talk to the international community, for African Union to be the voice of these countries to the international community. They're going to reduce the divisions that have been hindering African countries' development. But so, what's the implication for the world? But this is not just a win for Africa. There's not just a win for Africa. The world will benefit from this too. It's opened the door for more diverse perspective in global decision making. With the African Union at the G20, discussions on issues like climate change and sustainable development will gain fresh insight and holistic solutions. So African Union being part of the G8, you're going to bring a different perspective. And climate change, as I already alluded to, global security, coup d'etat on the continent of Africa, peace and security, food security. We talk about the war in Ukraine, and Russia, war between. I don't want to say the war in Ukraine, but the war in Ukraine and war in Russia, because the war is being fought on both sides. All these things will bring fresh perspective to the discussion on global issues. So African Union being a part of G20 is going to bring a new perspective on the discussion, on these discussions on healthcare, on global security, food security, and trade, and you name the rest. So because you look at India, you look at China, they are all part of they are all part of the G20. So by African Union being the voice at the table, bringing in 1.5 billion or more people to the table, 1.4, 1.5 billion people to the table, voices to the table, is going to help the world greatly. Well, that's all we have for time for today on this issue. I was listening to the BBC this morning, and they were talking about the resolution that the G8 is to release at the end of this G20 meeting in Delhi, India, and they talk about the war in Ukraine, and they are talking about how they can water down the language because China and Russia are not attending the G summit, the G20 summit in Delhi. The two nations are not. But any international summit right now will be dominated by Ukraine, the war between Russia and Ukraine. So the resolution that's going to be released, I think they are very careful in not making the war in Ukraine to dominate the summit. India Prime Minister Modi is talking about focus should be on developing country challenges facing the world and not just the war between Russia and Ukraine. So they are trying to craft the resolution in a way that it doesn't infuriate Russia that went into Ukraine and causing all this war. But on the same issue, the G20 summit, and the G20 members has to realize that peace and security is crucial if we are to, if the war is to integrate more, global economy can function if we have peace and security. And if one member country, like Russia is a permanent member of the Security Council, and one invaded another member country of the United Nations, these nations, India in particular, and China, they should be coming up to criticize, if not criticize, tell it as it is. Russia got to withdraw from Ukraine. African countries that said cannot continue to sit on the sidelines. Now they are at the table to discuss global issues. They got to stand strong. I know there are many African countries that have condemned Russia invasion of Ukraine, and the war is between Russia and Ukraine. Now Ukraine is taking the war to Russia. Both people are dying, not just in Ukraine. African countries now have to stand up and say that Russia is wrong in invading Ukraine. And also, India, that is the world's biggest economy, not the biggest economy, but the world's biggest democracy, has to come up and state clearly that Russia is wrong in invading Ukraine and Russia needs to pull back. Somebody was telling me if America is no longer the superpower, and China is, will China be able to stand up to bigger countries the way United States is standing up, since United States is the only world superpower right now standing up to dictators around the world? Will China be able to do that? Or will India be able to do that? So the leadership role that this country want to play, it calls for taking responsibility. Telling people whenever they are wrong that they are wrong. And standing up for the weaker countries. So I'm glad that most African countries, have criticized Russia for invading Ukraine, and I think that now they are the G8 permanent member of the G20. I think they will be to more forcefully say that. I know that South Africa, that I'm very discouraged about, has been supporting Russia. News report that they sent arms to Russia. It's very discouraging, but we hope that South Africa understand that the reason. I was talking to a guy from Ghana who said when Nelson Mandela they asked Nelson Mandela a question, and he was supporting Cuba president. Why Cuba president, the ex-president Castro? Because Castro supported Nelson Mandela when he was in jail. But my friend said the reason that most people supported South Africa doing apartheid because of injustices. So when Nelson Mandela could not understand that there were thousands of people in Cuba who were in jail because of the brutal regime in South Africa and want to support South Africa, I think his legacy will suffer because of that. Secondly, Russia invasion of Ukraine, South Africa can't say because Russia supported them during the apartheid era. So when Russia is infringing on other people's right, injustices, children are being killed, hospitals and schools being bombed, and South Africa is still supporting Russia. That is a disgrace to South Africa. I heard article Julius Malema saying that they will support South Africa. They are supporting South Africa. Good for them. But at the end of the day, everybody understand, or most people understand, that injustices, people stand up for injustices. If somebody supports me because my rights were being infringed upon, if that person infringes upon another person's right, I'm going to tell you, say, no, you can't do that, because that was the same reason of which you came to my defense. So South Africa got to understand, and other African countries who just stand up and want to blame other people for the problems, have to understand that you cannot say you want a peace around the world. You can't criticize people who colonize Africa, and now you cannot stand up for aggressors in your day. You criticize people in the 1940s, 50s, or 1930s. Now something happened, a similar thing happening to other countries, and you are not saying anything. Thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. My name is Kayoki Pico Kanwe. I'll be back with you next week. Have a great day, and don't forget to stay engaged. Remember that you have to understand that this world can only be a place that everybody can feel secure in if we are all standing up for what is right. And what is right is hard to define, but just remember, the Bible said, do unto others as you will have them do unto you. I know other religious groups, the Quran, the Baha'i faith, and other faith around the world has something similar to that. Do unto others as you have them do unto you. So there's a very good news. We are very happy. Those who are originally from Africa are very excited to hear this news. The African Union is now a permanent member of the G20. So we hope that this will bring more investment on the continent. Will integrate African economy more with the global economy, not just an economy where people come to extract, but economy where people go and invest and add value to the commodities that we have over there. We hope they'll go in there and also invest in our infrastructure. Look at the Inga in Democratic Republic of the Congo. They say when that is finished, it can provide almost power for over 600 million people. So by G8 Summit understanding the needs of the African continent, I hope they will go over there and invest in Africa, value added, not extraction, value added, improve infrastructure on the continent. Have a nice day. Subscribe to my channel and also read my blog. Go to ladvmedia.com and read my blog. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you when I see you. Bye for now.